Hey guys, back again. Today we're on lesson 8-2 as well, and we are going to be multiplying a polynomial by a monomial. So this is easy stuff. By a monomial. So we're still 331. Oops, sir. I was going to write 31 again. 2020. So this probably is going to get done all on one page for you. For me, it's probably going to take 2 screens just because of the way that my screen is oriented. So let's start with what a problem like this would look like. So we're going to get negative 3x squared, and we're going to multiply it by the quantity 7x squared minus x plus 4. So again, the only way to get rid of those parentheses is to distribute. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to use the distributive property. Use the distributive property. Okay, so that means we're going to multiply all terms of the polynomial by the monomial. Okay, now what that means is we've got 2 things to watch out for. We've got to multiply the coefficient and the coefficient, but we also have to multiply the variables. So we got to follow exponent rules. So when I multiply and the bases are the same, I'm going to add the exponents. At the same time, we also have to be mindful and watch signs. Watch the signs. Okay, all right, so 2 methods for this one as well, similar to what we talked about yesterday. So we're going to talk about the horizontal method. Not my favorite. Well, no, it's not bad. It's fine. It's the next one. It's in lesson 8.3 that's going to be, I'm going to give you some choices. So the horizontal method. And that's going to be something like this. Negative 3x squared times the quantity 7x squared minus x plus 4. So I'm going to kind of spread it out. So we're going to multiply the negative 3x squared times the first term, 7x squared. And then I'm always going to use pluses here. And then I'm going to multiply negative 3x squared times, and catch this one, guys, it's a negative, sorry, and I don't even write it, a negative x. Because remember, we can add the opposite. So add the opposite of subtracting x, so I'd add negative x. That's where that negative comes from on the x. And then, again, I'm just going to write plus, and then I'm going to distribute the negative x squared times that positive 4. So this is the brain step, and the result of doing that gets us negative 3 times 7 is negative 21, x squared times x squared, well, 2 plus 2 is 4. So I get negative 21x squared. Now this one I'm going to look at signs before I place it in. So I have a negative 3 times a negative 1. That's going to give me a positive 4. X squared times x, 2 plus 1 is 3. And then I have a negative 3 times a 4 is a negative 12, and then the x squared. And there's the answer. Okay. The second method is the vertical method. So just like with long multiplication, so if we had 127, sorry, 127 times 3, we would rewrite that problem as 127 on the top and 3 on the bottom. Because the fewer terms we have to multiply by, the less multiplication we are going to be doing. So we would do the same thing in our problem. So we're going to take that same original problem, that negative, I'm sorry, wrong pen, that negative 3x squared, and it's going to be given to us in this respect. I don't think our book gives it to us already vertically. I don't think so. And all we do is rewrite it as the longer one on top. He's in descending degree order. If he's not, I'm going to make sure he is. And then I'm going to multiply by the negative 3x squared. So basically I'm going to do this one step at a time, right? Oh, here, let me put my line for here. And then we're going to go ahead and multiply just like what we would do with whole numbers. We multiply 3 times the 7 first. We're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to multiply negative 3 times 4 is negative 12x squared. Now the great thing about this multiplication is that we don't have any carrying that takes place. Negative 3x squared times negative x is going to give me a positive 3x cubed. Okay? And, oh, you know what? I blew it. I guess you guys have been screaming at me. I just caught myself. Back over here. Yeah. Let's try that again, shall we? So when I multiply a negative 3 times a negative 1, I get a positive 3. So, yes, sorry, going too fast. My brain is 3 directions at once. And then next one, I have negative 3x squared times positive 7x squared. So negative 3 times positive 7 is going to give me a negative, oops, sorry, I forgot to change my my color here. Let's erase that. And let's go to black. So I get negative 21x to the 4th. And I should get exactly the same answer. Now I do, okay? So looks like I wrote really fast, so I'm going to go on to my next screen. This still should be about maybe a third of the way down on your page. Okay, so let's talk about how do we solve polynomial equations. Polynomial equations. So notice I did not title this again because this should be able to fit all on one page. So now this is going to go another level. Now we're going to have an equal sign. Now we're going to have to try to solve this problem. Okay, so blah, 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 blah. First off, we're going to simplify each side of the equation as much as possible. Okay, that means if I have parentheses, I need to distribute. If I have like terms, I'm going to combine them together. I may have more than 2 terms per side because I may have different degrees on my variables. Okay, but I think magic may happen if that's the case. So that's the first thing. Simplify each side of the equation as much as possible. Next, we're going to do inverse operations. Our old friend. Now that means in this case, since it's terms we're trying to do things with, we're going to be either adding or subtracting to get all the terms together on one side. Okay. Now this time it's not just because we may have the same variable with different degrees on it. So we're going to do inverse operations and make sure all the variables are on the left. Excuse me, to get variables, all variables on the left and constants on the right. Then we're going to do inverse operations. So at this point, we just should have a term that has a variable and a term that's a constant, one on each side. So do inverse operations. So this time, it's either going to be multiplying or dividing, okay? With the coefficient, to get the variable alone. And then last thing, we got to write our answer appropriately, so we have a format. And this isn't really up for discussion, it's just do it, right? And we get variable on the left equals constant on the right. Okay? So we got a couple of problems we're going to do now. You might say, wait a second, how come we didn't really practice the multiplying a polynomial by monomial? Well, when I demonstrated the two methods, there was your practice. This is why we need to understand that so that we can solve. So directions are just going to say simplify. Oops, sorry, I just wrote it again. Simplify. And remember, simplify just means do all the math you can do until there's no more math to be done. So problem 1. I have 2p times the quantity negative 4p squared plus 5p minus 5p, or no, excuse me, minus 5 times the quantity 2p squared plus 20. So I did throw one at you. So this one is like what I talked about at the top. Okay, we're just distributing and then combining up like terms. We're simplifying. So on the first one, I'm going to multiply 2p by each of the terms inside the parenthesis. So 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. P times p squared is p cubed. 2p times 5p, 2 times 5 is 10, which is positive, and p times p is p squared. The next one's where it gets a little tricky, and we're going to be multiplying negative 5 times 2p. So negative 5 times 2 is negative 10p squared. Negative 5 times 20 is going to give me negative 100. So now I look for anything that is the same. I look for like terms. I see cubed, I see squared, and I see a constant. So these are the two that I'm going to combine together. The rest are going to stay the same. So I get negative 8p cubed, but look at that. I have 10p squared and negative 10p squared. They're opposites, so they zero out. And then I have minus 100. So my answer is negative 8p cubed minus 100. All right, last one. Now we're going to do one where you're going to have to solve. So you see a difference because now you're going to see an equation. And you're going to go, what? In just a second. I'm waiting for it. So 2a times the quantity 5a minus 2. And then we're going to add 3a times the quantity 2a plus 6. And then outside of that is plus 8 equals a times the quantity 4a plus 1 plus 2a times the quantity 6a minus 4, and then plus 50. So if you feel like, oh, there's no way I'm going to write this big old huge sucker, you can go underneath problem 1. All right, so here we go. We got a lot of multiplying to do. It's going to be very colorful, lots of rainbows. So 2a times 5a squared is going to give me, or 2a times 5a is going to give me 10a squared. 2a times negative 2 is going to give me negative 4a. Then I'm going to multiply by 3a. So 3a times 2a is going to give me a positive 6a squared. And 3a times 6 is going to give me a positive 18a. And then I'm just going to have a constant. And then over here, I'm going to go ahead and distribute. And I'm going to get a times 4a is going to give me 4a squared. and a times 1 is going to give me an a. And then I'm going to multiply 2a times 6a. That's going to give me 12a squared. And then 2a times negative 4 is negative 8a. And then I'm just going to get a constant, plus 50. All right, that's step 1 in simplifying. Now I'm going to continue and do more, okay? Excuse me. So I'm going to go ahead and combine up my like terms. So 10a squared and 6a squared. Now, like terms are only on a side. So let's see, that gives me 16a squared. Have negative 4a and positive 18a is going to give me positive 14a. And then I'm going to get 8 over here. 4a squared plus 12a squared is 16a squared. A minus 8a is negative 7a. And then I have a 50. So now I'm going to do inverse operations. And I'm going to subtract 16a from both sides. A squared, excuse me. They both zero out, they're opposites. I'm going to add 7a to both sides to get the variables on the left. So I'm going to do this I'll do this all together at one time. I haven't done that in a while. And then I'm going to add 8 to both sides. So let's see. That guy goes, that guy goes. I'm not going to add 8. Jeez Louise. Sorry, brain. I was thinking about eating. I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. Let's try that, shall we? Hoi yai. Try to get it fast for you and look what happens. So he goes, he went, and you're left with 21a equals 42. So then we're going to go ahead and divide both sides by 21. And we get a equals 2. Now we can check that answer by substituting it in on both sides and make sure both sides are equal the same thing. So 5 times 2 is 10, take away 2 is 8, 2 times 2 is 4, 8 times 4 is 32. We've got 3 times 2 is 6, we have 2 times 2 is 4, 4 plus 6 is 10, 6 times 10 is 60, and then we have an 8. So that's going to be a grand spanking total of 100. On the other side, we get 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9, so 2 times 9 is 18. We get 2 times 2 is 4, and then 6 times 2 is 12. 12 take away 4 is 8. 4 times 8 is 32. And then we have a 50. And then let's see, for grand total here, we get a 10, we get 7, 15. Did I do that right? I think I added wrong. I think I added wrong. Probably. Alright, let's try this again. This is what happens when I do stuff in my head. 8 plus 1. That would be different. Right. I can't even do math anymore. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. No, I did that one right. Okay, then I have 2 times 2 is 4. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 take away 4 is 8. So I have 4 times 8 is 32, and then I have 50. Can I just not add? Yep, you're right. I can't add. That's my problem today. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Jeez. All right, time for me to get food. All right, guys, that's it for today's notes. Sorry about all the brain fog happening. We'll talk to you later. Bye.